Hello ladies and gentlemen and welcome to the weekly Old School Q&A. You might have noticed we've had a little bit of a jazzy upgrade inside of the streaming room, which it looks really nice. And we don't have to squint to see the chat anymore, which is always great. So we can now see everybody spamming about the Aiza geezers. Good old Aiza geezers. Joining us on the couch today we have Mod Ash.
Hello.
We have Mod West. We have Mod Kieran.
Yo.
Mod Aiza. And I'm your host, Mod Wolf. Nice to see you. I hope you're all having a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful week. A couple of things to talk about real quick. Firstly, a little update on the Nexus portal update. On the Nexus portal. We were hoping to deliver that to you this week, but we came across a couple of issues. Sadly, in testing, there was some bugs that Mod Bruno caught with the interface. So we're going to be a little bit late on that one. We're looking to get it out early November-ish is our goal now.
That sounds about right. We've got you'll cover next week's update, I'm sure.
Yes, I was about to get to that next. So sorry about that. So this week's going to be mainly bug fixes and generic small quality of life that you guys suggested. But in preparation for next week, Mod Ash has been working on a particular update that you've all been looking forward to the past few weeks. We've been mentioning it quite a bit. That's a Halloween update. It's been a ton of fun to test, Ash. It's been really funny.
Glad you like it.
We have a couple of pictures to show, a couple of teasers that you've given us. I'm not going to say the name yet, because that's the final teaser image. So let's have the first image up, please, Mod John. There you go. Do you want to explain that, Ash?
So this one sets in a place we haven't explored very much. It's the chapel near Rimington and Port Sarim, and a crypt underneath it, which is a new bit of terrain for this event, will be opened up and used for the event itself. So, next picture, please.
Yeah.
So here's a teaser of what's inside it. As you can see, it's got traditional Gothic kind of decorations and blood on the wall, skeletons hanging up, and plenty of coffins and cobwebs and a cauldron. And this snappily dressed gentleman in the bowler hat who will be guiding you through it as you help him with the Halloween event he's trying to put on for his niece and nephew. He's got plenty of ideas, he thinks, but like so often happens, the people in the people with all the ideas need actual useful people to implement things for them, and this is what you'll be doing for him. And what he's trying to create is a scenario, a sort of holiday event, if you will, for his niece and nephew, which he intends to call, third picture please. His name is Eric, and these are the chambers that he is having you set up for his Halloween event. I hope you enjoy it. Should be with you on Thursday 25th. It's usually a good sign if he keeps laughing when he's testing.
The chat is so funny. I don't know if it's definitely funny in general, but it's also a little bit funnier knowing why you're venting at certain things as well. Like I think at one point there's a reference to like things that have been happening. Yeah, it's really funny. I promise.
I don't recall, but it's probably the case. And certainly one of the NPCs hints at one of the alternative ideas we had for this year's Halloween event, and comments it would have been so much easier if we'd done that one instead. Some of it's a little edgy. I think my favourite chat option I've got in there is the option of saying, that's not spooky, that's just obscene. And I believe your favourite is the one where you offer to find a therapist.
Yeah, you're like, oh God, I need to get the children a therapist. Yeah, it's brilliant. It's really good, I promise.
Classic Halloween joy for all.
But we have a couple more things to announce, by the way, guys. I want to talk about exclamation point All Stars. We'll give you a Twitch event so that you can get yourself a reminder for when the All Stars event is both on, and the All Stars heat drawing, which will be on Friday, the 2nd of November, the heat drawing for the groups. The 24th of November, of course, for the event itself. We don't have tickets for the public on sale at the moment, and there's not any plans to release tickets, but it's something we'll certainly look for to offer in future events. And finally, the last thing that I want to show you guys is a straw poll that Mod West has been working on. Of course, he's working. Do you want to talk about it yourself, actually?
Yeah, well, I've done this before in the past. I think it was the Din's Bulwark was the last time I did it, but essentially just trying to get straw polls out there so we can sort of design new weapons with the community. Sort of the general gist of it. And there's just 3 examples. The one that wins will then be made into, I think I've got a few more to come as well, but generally I just want to design something with the community.
So that's the Dragon Hunter Lance, right?
Yeah, that's the Dragon Hunter Lance.
While they're voting on that, would you? It's worth noting that you've made some lovely graphics for the Halloween event.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Well, just as a little teaser for them, next week I think we'll show off the reward items you've made.
It's looking very good.
We wanted something that suited, kind of frightening. You'll find out why during the course of the event. So we've got something frightening for you to wear.
Oh, the straw poll results are in so far. Of course, that straw poll is still available on Mod West's Twitter. So at JagXWest, if you want to vote on that later, if you haven't voted on it yet. But so far, it looks like B is winning at 55%, at 38%, and C at 7%. But I see the one that they don't like.
Yeah, they're not a big fan of C.
Today we learn the alphabet with the Old School community.
This episode of the Old School Weekly Q&A is brought to you by the letter B.
I felt like C was the most basic form, so it makes sense for the other ones to go.
Did nobody get that? Did you guys never used to watch Sesame Street?
I do remember it, but
Okay,
we're talking like the 1980s here.
Okay,
So,
all
a
right.
while ago.
Well, I got it. So.
I love this though. It really lets us do a collaborative design process with that. You just provide the basic shape. And
Yeah, I think I did something similar with the Justice Year armor as well. After all the feedback the players gave us.
I recall when Mod Ghost was working on the Dragon Defender, he got so much feedback about how, no, the spikes are wrong, no, it's the wrong shade of red, no, the spikes need to be this colour, the spikes need to be bigger, smaller, left of it. And, he got quite a lot of player feedback, a lot of which was about how stupid he was not to realise spikes needed to be different. There are other ways of expressing yourselves that you might want to look into.
Mod Ghost is one of the calmest, most polite people you'll ever meet. And he took that feedback very well, multiple times. And I don't think I've ever seen him get more mad than I think the 7th iteration went, forget it! They're getting this one! This is the one that's going in. I'm done with feedback. I was like, oh, okay, sorry.
I do recall players were sending him lots of their designs for how it should look, which is actually quite helpful. See what the player has in mind rather than them trying to describe what spikes should be like verbally. But after he'd seen several hundred of these and was getting a little bit worn ragged, I popped over with a picture to show him of my Dragon Defender, which he took a while looking at before he realised what I meant, but it was just the Heroes Guild dungeon, where there's that cage with a dragon in it, and the wise old man just standing in the doorway shouting, "Leave the dragon alone!" That was my Dragon Defender. I think he'd had enough of them by this point, though, and may not have liked it.
If joining our team sounds like something you like to do, the final announcements before I get onto questions. We do have a brand new content developer role up online on our careers website. We're going to link that in the chat so that you guys can apply for that. We are looking for a new one, so apply if you have the requirements or some of the requirements. It's more about team fit than anything. We can teach you how to RuneScape as long as you've got an idea of how to do it. But yeah, anything else you want to add to our new lead content developer? Ooh, congratulations, Mark Kieran.
leaked.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Got anything you want to say?
Apply if you want to join us. This is your chance. You'll get to work with me and Ash. You get honestly, right? Okay.
Me and Ash. Yeah.
And of course, the rest of the team, but as part of the dev team. But honestly, for me, this is the best job in the world. So that's all I can say.
Do you want to talk about what it entails, different from what you were doing like before?
What, my lead job?
Well, yeah. I mean,
Sorry, I started talking about the job application that.
But he's the best job in the world.
So essentially, my role is more split into a 50-50 role now, where half my time is. That made a very musical noise, dropping a bottle.
Sorry.
So essentially, my role is sort of split into 2 halves now. One half is still going to be me, running projects, developing code, and the other half will be actually managing the developers on Old School. So exciting, new challenges, can't wait.
Good stuff. Right, let's move on to the questions. If you have any in the chat, please do at Old School RS. Mod Rise in the chat gathering those questions, and upstairs we have Mod Bruno highlighting any that we believe we want to add to some upcoming polls. We're actually getting pretty close to a new poll soon, so keep an eye out for that. I'm not too sure when it'll be in the upcoming weeks. But we're on the first question.
Just as you just mentioned the word poll, I got a little excited.
Really?
Because
why?
Kebos Lowlands poll.
Oh yeah.
That's out right now if you haven't voted already. But it's looking darn good.
looking very good.
We got 44 questions on there, and currently all 44 are passing, which is crazy. It must be up there with one of the biggest polls we've ever done.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm glad to see a big one go through because I wrote that darn thing to handle 100 and no one ever makes it do so.
I'm very impressed. It's the first time I've seen any poll that large not have any. There's usually one. There's usually one or two that fails, and they're all pretty high percentages.
It's crazy as well. Like we're well into development now. We work in scrums. We're halfway through our second sprint, and knowing that everything's passed makes everything so easy because we can just kickstart going on into it.
We should have trolled them by sticking a question right at the bottom for shall we shrink the bank by 50% and see if they vote that one through.
Oh, gosh.
Well, probably not.
That'd be risky.
Like we already made a good start. Like I've just about finished working on the worms with Mod Ghost. Mod Monroe's been working on the new drakes. I've just brought in a whole host of the farming patches for the farming guild. So we've made good progress already, and I've pretty much written the code for the new Slayer Master as well. So it's coming along really well. I'm sure we'll start showing some stuff off when we have it.
Good stuff. I just realised there's new stickers on the back, and one of them says "Publishing or Pub Decisions," and I quite like that one. But I'm going to move on to the questions again at Old School RS. If you have any questions from the chat, we have Mod West here. He wasn't here the other week when we had a lot of warding questions, so now's your opportunity to talk about warding. I'm going to ask my first question from Forgotten Ranger, and they ask, could the rune pouches have a different graphic for when they're decayed? I'm colourblind, and it's hard for me to tell the difference in colour between a non-decayed pouch and a decayed pouch.
Seems like a rather good thing to do on principle.
Yeah.
We could just change the inventory icon to be a different angle.
Yeah.
I was thinking as well, potentially, because I've been in quite a lot of runecrafting recently, actually, and this got raised by a few people that I was runecrafting with. And I personally don't have that much of an issue of seeing it, but I can definitely understand if you've got a problem with colourblind, maybe having, so when the pouches degrade more, they have a larger crack, for example, so that you can notice that.
That's not a crack, that's a kind of ribbon.
Oh, okay. Maybe the must.
I think that's like time pouch off.
Maybe the ribbon opens up a little bit more then.
Well, maybe you can model as a tatty sack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that makes sense. But can I just ask a question?
Yeah.
What sort of pouch holds less things when it's tatty? Surely things start falling out. Sure, but
The Zamrakian mages talk at some length about the space folding that allows them to hold multiple items.
Oh, really?
this is actually
sure they
got
do.
law to explain it.
Yeah.
I like it.
Mod James, the original Mod James, not the one we had more recently, was really quite big on his lore and also wrote very, very sassy dialogue. I miss his stuff. He wrote, Recruitment Drive and Tremnick Trials and The Wanted Quest, where you spend the whole time sassing at Savant or something.
And then the storyline got ruined by crushing with a pillar. That was a
He
contentious
did not
time.
write that.
Yeah.
He also didn't do the Slug Menace thing.
Yes, that's true. He wasn't able to do it. That's fair. So yeah, we can look into changing that if you can highlight that, please. Mod Bruno upstairs. Next question from Quality of Life Hamburger asks, with a new achievement diary coming, now would be a perfect time to address the issue with the Karamja diary. It's completely outdated compared to the other diaries as it was the first created. The gloves do not fit with the armours at all except the elite ones that were added when the other diaries were created. The XP lamps give less than the rest of the diaries, and it's the only diary where sound or jingle plays when you complete a task. I think the thing they're mainly addressing is the XP from the lamps and the gloves looking different.
Can you remember how the jingle goes? I remember it's pretty nice when you hear it.
I can't hum that.
But to be fair, if people want the gloves to change to the new style, absolutely. Lamps may be a bit more controversial because certain people will have already had their lamp and would reasonably want compensating for that, which we could
do that. So, I mean,
Yeah.
we did it for the Champions Challenge.
Thought so.
Yeah, we'd have to do that. But I'm not really against it. As for new jingles, we'd have to get some audio time to make some new fancy ones for each region, which I'm sure they wouldn't mind.
Which was presumably only be heard by people who hadn't done it yet.
Yeah.
Cool.
Want to do a straw poll?
Yeah, let's drop all the gloves.
Do you want to change the gloves to match the new armours?
Question for Kieran when you've got that set up. You know you were working on the farming stuff. Mm-hmm. Is it still the case that the cactus patch is the one with a jingle when you check its health?
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure there is a unique jingle for "My cactus is healthy."
What?
Everything needs a jingle.
Can I just say, by the way,
I mean, honestly, we should have more jingles in game because they're great.
it's mildly distracting, but also very cool that camera moves.
It's freaking me out.
It's very slow, and people might not be able to get it. Can you swap to the overview camera real quick, Mod John? Like, can you see that the camera in the centre is moving? That's like our new middle camera. We have 2 now.
The chat's
And-
definitely noticed.
Yeah, we splashed the cash. Roomfest's over now. We've got all the money in the world, and we decided to get a new sexy camera and new monitors, so you don't have to squint to read the chat. That's brilliant.
There's actually less chat there because it's horizontal rather than
You also see Mod Rai Wave. That's where he sits when he does the chat. And Mod John, do you want to peek your head around? There we go. There's Mod John. He's our producer right there. All right, let's pop back in the middle again and move on to the next question while that straw poll is answered. The next question from Plong Splong asks, could we get a 70 to 80 plus agility requirement to be able to hop over the tall grass in Puro Puro instead of pushing through? It would be faster to navigate, but at the cost of a very high agility level.
That's quite a jump considering how blocky the thing is.
Impressive.
We give him a pogo stick and pogo over it.
I sort of like it, but it sort of goes against the idea of Puro Puro, where you're supposed to sort of either the pushing through is supposed to take long, or you wait for the bit for it to fade away.
For what it's worth, everyone knows it in Old School. You don't have pogo sticks, you have broomsticks for getting across these obstacles.
Yeah.
It's true.
Thoughts?
We can make the flare jump as high as we want, but might not look realistic.
What if you do it, but it's the same speed as pushing through it?
Sort of defeats the point, doesn't it?
Yeah, well,
How slow? No.
The thing is, what we could do is, if they can jump over it, they don't get the strength XP, since that is still a thing. Or we could delete the strength XP.
We pulled that, and that failed quite highly.
Did it now?
It did. Probably because people don't like. For some reason, people are mean. You guys are mean.
How about making it use your strength level or agility level, whichever is higher, to determine the
At which point,
speed?
that would also avoid the strength XP if you were using your agility to get over it.
Yeah, so it allows skillers to get involved.
Ooh, close-ups. Thank you.
Like it. Right, the straw poll is in, and a very high percentage. Should the Karamja gloves be changed to match their respective tiers of armour? 90% to yay, 10% to nay. That is a very high percentage. I'd be cool with
That's surprising.
changing
I've been wanting to
Somebody on
change them for
questions
ages.
upstairs.
Yes, Mod Bruno, highlight that. Oh, excuse me. I'm so sorry. Excuse me. Mod Bruno, highlight that one. That's disgusting. Sorry.
I just remember that I was meant to host today.
Were you?
In the future, it's all right. I remember we discussed it at the weekend.
Was I drunk?
I can't remember.
It was
Maybe.
very possible.
If neither of you can remember, it must have been a good weekend.
It
I
was,
do like fruit shoot.
was it Friday?
Anyway, carry on.
Oh yeah, sorry. Next question from Classics asks, can you consider adding or changing 1 or 2 worlds to have a boss respawn timer of 30 seconds to turn them into a free-for-all world for all bosses? That's what it says. What? What are you doing?
Lots of question marks.
I wanted to read it
well then.
because I didn't quite grasp the question.
Yeah, it's quite confusing. that was awkwardly silent.
So Classics was in Oblivion, probably is no longer now.
What happened?
Well, just
Wait,
because of that
so-
complete silence.
Oh.
For God's sake.
So, a couple of worlds that bosses respawn much faster on,
Yeah.
basically.
I don't like that, but that's just me. I get what he's trying to get at. I see his point, but what do you guys think?
Meh. I'd rather not.
Yeah.
I don't want people to fight over worlds. I want people to get to a world and be able to kill the boss.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, as soon as you start encouraging specific worlds, you give it an advantage if you can manage to get it.
Yeah.
I can see that's the point. Maybe you want competition, but
Players have been known to appreciate that kind of competition. Like a long time ago, when 2013, the engine team was actually available to offer us a favour or two, astoundingly. And I mean, in those days, there were far fewer of them than we have today. And they offered to do a sort of login queue where if you tried to log into a world that was full, then you'd be put in a queue and you'd get in when there was next space for you. And players voted it down, giving a lot of comments at the time about how I'm good at clicking fast, so I like it like this. Everyone else, get good, but not too soon because I'm enjoying it.
Fair enough. It's a resounding no, I'm afraid. The next question from Clue is, if warding passes, will where the icon be placed? Could the construction icon be moved to the right side of Hunter to allow warding to be under magic, or will it be moved to the empty slot in the bottom right corner?
I suspect we'll just put it in the bottom right slot. But I mean, shifting skills around would just confuse people, and it doesn't really. I mean, it would be nice to have all the skills in their correct groups, but they're not at all grouped at the moment.
Yeah.
I mean, slightly some combat skills.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to move an existing skill.
Yeah,
I think that would lead to more controversy.
Someone will go and try and click on the construction skill and find a different skill there and be like,
What happened?
And we'll do better than they did when they released summoning as well, because that added the scroll bar to the.
right. Oh no.
We already have an idea what that's going to look like, because we did it with sailing, didn't we?
Yeah, when we did the fake sailing skill in 2015, we just added the 24th slot where the total level goes and moved the total level to the line below, where it fitted really quite neatly. I mean, it looks different because it was different, but it fitted and was a pretty decent layout without a scroll bar.
Good stuff. Next question from Da Close asks, can the talk to option on the Wandering Ham members be removed? The ones sat down have the same dialogue, and pickpocketing them is difficult on mobile. Most things can be left-click pickpocketed that have attack options anyway.
I guess so, yeah.
I like it because it's pretty normal to be able to suppress the attack option and put it underneath pickpocket for things that you can pickpocket. So this wouldn't be adding anything new. It would just mean that the ham are not unusually naff for.
And how often do you want to have a conversation with them?
Yeah.
They are horrible people, yeah.
Fantastic. Next question from Purpley asks, can the colours of friends and NPCs be changed on the minimap to be in line with quest colours? Perhaps with the toggle, they're almost impossible to distinguish for colourblind. We have a lot of colourblind questions today. They're almost impossible to distinguish for colourblind users.
We currently depend on Engine to change the colours of.
I think we don't.
Do we not?
There's a file where the minimap dots are defined, and they are actual 2D sprites. That someone's drawn these dots.
Oh, I didn't know
those
that.
were for
Pretty
faking.
sure.
Okay. So we can
I
change them.
think so. I might be wrong about that, but I thought we could.
I've seen them as well.
Perhaps, but we can't make it a toggle. It's hard
That's
red
right.
as that sprite, yeah.
Yeah. Fortunately, if it is that sprite, and I really do think it is, then the colours don't need to be that different. Like what we did to the quest list, unless you kind of squint up close and have really, really good colour perception, you're not actually going to notice we changed it at all.
And to be honest, even as someone who's not colourblind, sometimes I struggle to see the difference between a white dot and a yellow dot.
Yeah, same. Especially if you've got flux on.
Yep.
Then it's just completely
Maybe that's my problem.
What does that do?
It lowers your blue light of your monitor, so your eyes don't hurt
Based
so
on
bad.
time of day as well.
Yeah.
What's that thing in front of you, Ash? Because I realised you picked it up earlier. It's got a name on it.
Yes, it's a cup with my name on it. Thank you.
Did somebody send it in?
Yes, they brought it to RuneFest. I believe it matches yours, I believe.
Yeah, it was from Fools.
Yes.
The PvP clan. They made 4 of them, I believe, that were hand engraved by a member of their clan. And some people got their names on. I believe there's one for Ash, myself, Bo, and Bocky, I believe.
Since I was kind of touched, I thought I'd just thank them here with it.
Awesome. It looks really cool. It kind of looks like a.
I suppose it does look like you could serve a holy water stoop.
Yeah.
I was thinking about an ice cream serving scoop.
Oh, okay.
Maybe you're more religiously inclined.
Yeah, maybe. I was thinking more laying you back in a river and putting.
Oh, that. No, normally they just kind of dunk you, I think.
I wouldn't know. The next question coming in from Often on mobile. Can the split private chat order be reversed? Currently the newest is at the top, which is the opposite of the desktop client.
It's because it's below the chat box, right?
Yes.
It would look a bit weird, wouldn't it? I guess. Oh, I don't know.
It makes sense, right? Because they've put. So the newest is always next to the chat box.
It really throws you off. It throws me off every single time, though.
Well, given that I suspect somebody went to quite a lot of trouble to make it be the way it is, they could probably have had an easier time making it not be the way it is.
Yeah.
And so,
It sounds like we should probably change it the other way from what people are saying, or let it be a toggle.
I don't see anyone. Well, if the players want it the other way, it's no skin off our nose, and I wouldn't be surprised if it made the code simpler to boot.
To be honest, I think it'll actually be a little complicated because you're going to have to, if you've only got one message, you're going to want it to appear next to the chat box still.
Yeah.
You're not going to want it to appear halfway down.
Yeah.
So you're going to want it to move all the messages down as the new ones come in above it. Wait.
Well,
Yeah.
I think
since the thing's in a layer, I'd expect to just align things to the bottom of the layer and shrink the layer to show however many needed. I mean, I'm kind of guessing about what the code's doing at the moment, which is not really my forte. But I reckon we'd be all right with it. I would, however, be interested to see a straw poll of which way the players like it done, just to, discounting the possibility of toggles, which are, of course, always requested. I'd like to know which way around people just prefer as it is.
Yeah.
Good luck wording that one, sorry.
Yeah, let's drop all.
He's smiling
Should we
now.
reverse the order of split private chat on mobile devices? Is that okay? I think that actually sums that. And let's move on to the next question while I wait for that straw poll to be put in the chat. Wind asks, any updates on lucky implings being buffed?
Ooh, I still really want to do that.
Yeah.
Because they are, I mean, I can't even catch them yet, but
I think.
Would be nice too.
yeah. We just want to remove the sort of junk items, right, and just have it as unique items, essentially.
We thought we should calculate what the wealth rate would actually be if we did that before committing to doing it exactly that way. But taking away a lot of the junk would give you more of the unique items.
What do you mean panic buy? They're not tradable. What do you mean panic buy? You can't trade them. Come on.
The whole idea is when you see one, you're like, ooh, I got lucky. And now currently people are like, oh, I don't care.
Yeah,
Essentially. Or you say, oh, I wish that was a dragon.
we can have BI look into how many are caught, and then in turn find out how much we'd be giving away if we were to do this.
So I was just thinking about how the impling may be lucky, but you are not.
That's true. We'll look into it. After we get a bit more data, we'll look into addressing it, I think, is the answer to that one. Turkey asks, in your opinion... Oh, wait, OK, let's get the straw poll result first. Should we reverse the current direction of private chat on mobile to match the desktop client? We have 81% yays and 19% nays.
I'm glad it's a big split rather than like 50-50.
Yeah, I agree. So at least we know it's definitely one way or the other. At least from the chat, anyway. Of course, the chat isn't entirely representative of the community, but it is a good idea to gauge.
Nothing is. Like Mod Gambit was asking me the other day about how we could get true players' opinions on things, given that only a few tens of thousands vote in polls. And he ain't wrong. That is a lot of people not participating. On the other hand, that's more than we ever get from a SurveyMonkey survey or in a Discord in any manageable way, or sticking out a Google Doc. I actually think this is bigger than any of the alternatives
I think
we've got.
in-game polls are the best way we have.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look at when we did the holiday opinion poll. It was quite clear that you got a really good representation of what people really thought. Whereas if we just asked for a feedback thread, we would have just been kind of like,
It's ever the problem with statistics, right? You're never going to get everyone. You want a representative sample of... That's random, essentially. So
Yeah. We do love you, though, and we appreciate your opinion. How many people are watching right now, Madurai?
he doesn't know.
He doesn't know. Nobody.
No data.
There you go. All 6,000 of you. All 6,000 of you. We love you. Thank you for watching and tuning in, and we appreciate your opinion on all these things. But a usual in-game poll gets about 40,000 responses, which gives you an example of just how many more people's opinions we like to listen to before we say it's fine.
Thinking about how we could encourage more use of voting without, resorting to giving people bribes to vote, which I don't approve of. If they don't have a strong enough opinion to bother voting, then fine. But the poll booths are not always convenient. People have had them all over the shop. But if players would be okay with us having a button on the game frame that opened up the poll interface, then that would be even less XP waste when you go to vote. We offered it in the first place, and players felt that a booth is a bit more old school as an approach for doing it, which I agree. then they require that, of course, a booth be added here, so they don't have to have XP waste, but still feel it's probably old school, which is okay. But if they wanted a button on the game frame ever for, minimising their losses, we would do it.
So it's interesting. Like 40,000 is obviously a lot of votes, but compared to the amount of players, it isn't that high.
Yeah,
I'm curious, if you don't vote, why don't you vote? Because obviously you all care about what happens in this game. You all care what updates are coming out. Is there a reason you don't bother?
The most common feedback point that I always get is that most people feel there's no point when they see the results of the poll and that it's passing with the majority. They're like, oh, well, my opinion's invalid regardless because if I vote no, it's not going to change.
That's what happened with Brexit.
I'm seeing 2 responses in the chat generally, and it's XP waste and lazy. One or the other.
Of course, the people we're seeing here are self-selected for caring enough about the game to tune in to watch us talk about it for an hour, which is very nice of them. Hello.
Vote matters. Please do vote if you don't vote.
Like, legit, if you do have a good opinion on why you don't vote, and you've got something you want to say, feel free to tweet it at me, and I'll have a look.
I saw a funny comment on YouTube last week because you keep coughing and they always what face whenever you cough, and I try to avoid YouTube comments, but I saw one the other day that made me laugh a little bit. And it was like, Mod Kieran's had a cough since 2007, and it's every stream you cough and they what face and they get scared and you scare them.
Hi, YouTube.
There's always a time to cough.
True. Straw poll results. How often do you vote on in-game polls? Sometimes at 45%, always at 43%, and never at 11%. So is some like 10% there of the people in chat never.
At least we know they know how to vote on polls because they've just voted on one.
That's the problem. This sample is probably people who like to vote.
Yeah.
So we could do a poll in game and say, "Do you vote on polls?" But it's probably going to get a very specific sort of people answering.
Right, so I'm going to move on to the next question. This one's a little bit more of a discussion one. Turkey asks, in your opinion, why is warding an interesting skill as a development team?
Do you want me to go first?
Yes, I think you should go first. Yeah.
Personally, the way it came about was just like finishing that sort of combat triangle we've already got with the other production skills, with crafting and smithing. And while a lot of players have mentioned that it would work quite nicely with crafting, crafting is already quite a bloated skill as it is currently, and it felt reasonable to have a production skill for each combat triangle, a corner of the combat triangle essentially. And obviously at the moment we've only pitched a very basic form of the skill, but we've got a lot of opportunity to expand it in the future. And if we focus too much on the high-end rewards to start with, people would have been focusing on those more than the actual base, how you train the skill. And that's what we need to perfect before sort of getting into that sort of piece of content, essentially.
I'm going to throw a curveball.
Ooh. Go for it.
And say that I actually think what makes warding great is that it isn't that interesting, right?
Right.
It isn't the whole thing everyone's going to be like, oh my god, this new skill is epic, it's game-changing. It's just a skill, right?
Yeah.
That's what it is. It fits old school. It is an old school skill. Mm-hmm. And it's meant to be as if it could have been there from the start. Mm-hmm. And so it's not the skill itself that's ever going to really excite people. It's what you can do with it in the end.
I think that's the thing that players generally focus on, is that a lot of skills that have been released were more mini-gamey, and so that's sort of what was expected and not a skill. And if we want to do mini-games, we'll make some mini-games.
Well, take Dungeoneering, for example, probably the world's best mini-game. As a skill, it didn't fit with the other skills because it didn't do things like they did. They were things you used inside it, and that kind of thing made it feel very much like a mini-game, especially where you got reward tokens from it. Mm-hmm. I like that as a skill, this one, unlike, say, the sailing thing we offered before, is trained like other skills are, and sure, it touches on other skills where you get things from farming that you use in it, and vice versa. But it's not taking you completely away from playing RuneScape as you know it, and sticking you on a boat or down a hole or for hours and hours of your time doing it there.
I saw an interesting comment about Hunter. Somebody said, like, if Hunter was pulled now and it was never a thing before, would it have passed? And I don't think it would have. People need to think more as well, not just what is being offered, but what it allows us to do in the future as well. Like Chinchompa, if somebody said Hunter, would it have passed? No, not really. But Chinchompas are a cool idea. Like they change ways that bosses can be killed and the way that you train range and like just a small part of Hunter changed the game in such a significant way, and it's what can warding do in a
Warding is adding another string to your bow, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd say the same
Sounds
thing.
like fletching on steroids.
I'd say the same thing about like fletching or fire making or woodcutting. None of them are
the biggest example.
None of them are that like, oh my god, I can't wait to play woodcutting when I get like. It's not what you really get
different
excited
tree.
for, right?
Yeah.
And of course, I'd say like dungeoneering. Obviously, that is a game in of itself.
World's best minigame.
It is a skill, but obviously it is basically a minigame. And as you say, sailing, I'd even say Slayer. Like Slayer is obviously one of the most popular skills, but is it a skill really? It is essentially questing from any other MMORPG in a skill in a RuneScape. So
That's true. Yeah. That was brutal, actually.
If we'd called it combat chores, it would have been a lot less exciting. But that's what it is.
Yeah, everyone's covered like pretty much all the points, but the thing for me is just the opportunities that Warden brings in of, you know, different niche sets, especially for Magic, which is quite underpowered in scenarios outside of PVM. And then also looking at imbuing certain items. I know we've talked about rings and stuff, but you could look at changing up different armors and effects and weapons potentially having different effects and stuff like that. Not saying that those are things that should happen, but it's just all possibilities that currently don't exist or would have to come from rewards or drops, where this could be something that you work towards and get. So I just like the options that it brings forward, really.
Sorry, I'm just reading all the chat saying Slayer 2.
Oh.
The new skill,
Do you see
Slayer
that
2.
on Reddit? There was like a skill everyone really wants. It's just the Slayer icon and then the Slayer icon.
the main thing is I think Warding's got so much potential.
Yes.
So yeah, I really hope we get this through.
I'm just really looking forward to kind of like having a fully fleshed out blog that we can put to players so that it's more of a, great, as Wes said, you've understood the basics of the skill and how it works. This is what you can do with it, because that's something that you currently don't have. And I think once everyone gets an idea of that, we'll be having completely different conversations about warding compared to what we're having now.
Right, there's your little warding discussion. That was a good question, thank you. I'm going to ask some chat questions at Old School RS if you have any that are not going to be answered here. Sir Matthew13 asks, is there a deadline for the content developer role or a timescale for applying?
Basically, whenever we find one. I mean, obviously, the quicker you apply, the better, because if you apply too late, we might have found someone. So get your name in the hat.
We should mention that you do need to be able to live and work in the UK to do it.
Yes.
That unfortunately cuts out rather a lot of the planet, but the law is that we are not able to just let anyone drift into the country and start paying them to do the job. You have to actually have the required visa, and it's not the kind of thing for which we'd be able to get one for you. Yeah. Sorry.
Live and work in the UK is the only requirement. So actually, if you're European, you can apply.
Yep.
For now.
Yeah, definitely get in before March.
Yeah.
Of course, we don't know what the laws will be after that.
Yeah. The next question from Orman. Question from Odd West. What will the warding skill cap perk be if it were to pass the polls?
Oh, I hadn't even thought about that. I guess it would depend on how the final skill works, really. But I assume it would be something that would be quite useful. They have to be. Maybe a teleport, because that's
I reckon it'll be a perk.
I reckon it would also be a perk, yeah.
No.
Yeah, I hadn't even thought about that. But yeah, that's cool. Something to think about.
Cool. Next question from Sir the Dude. With a whole new skill being added, we're going to need more bank space. Updates and new items are coming in monthly with an ever-decreasing space in my bank. Are there any plans to address this?
Well, there was that thing we launched about a week ago that helps you clear your bank of junk. But in
850 items plus.
Yeah, I think there was almost 900 or something. You said you had to have 2 batches to fit them all in your bank, at least. Wow. We'd love to do more space. I mean, it's not like the data storage is expensive or anything. The limit we've run into is just how many items we can render on the screen without hitting the code limit and having the client crash. And we see from sporadic error logs that people do occasionally trigger it already. If we make it longer, then more people are going to be triggering it, and you go to your bank one day and find it won't open because it just keeps crashing. That's one heck of a risk, because if we trigger that, we don't have a way back from it.
Yeah.
If the engine team's available to work with us on trying to optimise what we've got so that it can do this more efficiently, or if things are ever efficient enough that we can just run more code before it crashes, then we could do it. But it's not a matter of just wanting another number, I'm afraid.
I really don't get, maybe I'm just oblivious to this, but I've never ever seen a bank that's full, or ever like been without bank fillers that's actually got useful stuff in every single slot. Like, even people who have 1 dose, 2 dose, 3 dose, 4 dose of every portion because it looks pretty, and they have a large amount of quest items.
I think every high-level Iron Man hits an issue of having.
Is it more than because that's fine?
Yeah,
that's totally fine.
My bank's been full for like 3 months.
I remember when you see. I remember watching Curtis MMORPG one day, and he was having to like literally combine his potion doses so that he could put space to put his rewards in. I think Svo was in a similar situation, so I imagine that the majority of Iron Men that don't fill their bank with unfinished clue scroll stuff, which, to be fair, they probably want to collect those anyway.
Items, yeah, okay.
They do want to keep them until they can have them all to deposit them into the different places within the player and house. I think even past that point, at very top level, you kind of get a little bit shafted.
Like, I was legitimately wondering, because whenever I see a normal player that's not an Iron Man, by the way.
I mean, yeah, don't get me wrong, my bank was full, but it was full of crap.
Yeah, that was abnormal, apparently.
And in all honesty, even on that argument, right, fair enough, a lot of people will hit the bank limit who have just got a load of crap in there as well. No one wants to clear that. No one has fun doing that. So it's just frustrating and it's an annoyance. And obviously, tools like the Wise Old Man thing help, and it makes it very easy for you guys to just clear your bank out. But yeah, the less times people run into a frustration, and they're just, people are lazy. Of course they are. They want to play. They want to play the game. They don't want to play the bank management game.
Plus, some people actually like hoarding stuff.
Yeah, that's true. I quite like reorganising my bank and then a week later realising I've completely ruined my new reorganised bank.
Yeah, I did it once and then accidentally had like swap and insert the wrong settings changed and it just messed the whole thing up. I was like, whatever, it's like this now forever. I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you remember when we launched bank tabs and the game just fell silent as everybody stood there sorting their banks in peace and harmony.
That was such a good update.
Thank you.
So it got said a lot in the chat, but what are the implications other than having another interface for a second bank?
Just the fairly substantial usability issue and the,
Okay.
Launching a piece of content where there's obviously something that will make it better that we just don't do doesn't go down too well.
Sure.
This would be one of those. It would be they have not always been forgiving about what looks like a kind of half-assed cheapo update that is blatantly lacking something.
Yeah, no, of course.
And while we can just tough it out and say, well, it's all we could have done for you, sorry, it's not always worked out, 2 weeks down the line when players arise who have not remembered why it was this way. And while we could try to go back and merge them afterwards, that's actually going to make it even worse for the code efficiency problem. I honestly think we've got a better chance of getting that improved for us.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'd rather have the one complete solution and it be perfect in its own sense. I just wondered, that was all.
It's a good question to ask. I think it's worthwhile.
Take the Dragon Warhammer. There's a few places where you can use it as a hammer, like the God War's Gong, for example. You can use any Warhammer as a hammer there. This is inconsistent. You can't smith with it, so it's not a hammer here. It's not a hammer for fixing weather vanes in one small favour, but it's a hammer there. And for the players who play that piece of content and just wanted to use the item they'd have brought anyway, great update, really convenient. For players who weren't part of that discussion, weren't part of the 2,000 upvotes or whatever, that or 500 likes that asked for the change, all they know is, my hammer doesn't work. And there's not something there to explain to them, oh yes, this was a compromise for people who just wanted to use that one gong. All they know is, my hammer doesn't work. What's with that? Now, the bank's a pretty extreme case, of course, because, you'd be more likely to understand, I've got my bank here and I've got my other storage thing over there that isn't connected to it because Jagex can't show both at once. but it's not an intuitive reason for what would a week later look like weird ass shoddy game design.
Okay, understood. That's fair.
But the players here and now would
They'd
let
be
us get
fine
away
with
with
As you
it.
say, in the future, though.
Yeah, they won't be the ones complaining about it.
And I assume, sorry to just keep this one going on, I'm genuinely interested now. I'm sorry, chat, you can resident sleep with me if you like, but I'm thinking, in your bank interface, we have bank tabs. What if there was a separate tab that was for actual bank slots? So you had bank slot 1, bank slot 2, and within those bank slots, there were different banks with different bank tabs, but in the same bank interface. Or would that fall into the same issue of doing too much code at once?
Well, if it had to be able to render them, then it would.
Yeah.
It sounds like it wouldn't from your description, though I might need you to draw me a picture.
Okay.
Cool.
I mean, presumably your idea is a way of designing it so it doesn't have to draw them all at once.
Yeah, I was more thinking, so you wouldn't have to have two separate areas to go to and in one place, but so that they were technically separate, but it doesn't feel like they are, kind of thing.
As long as you could have a proper... Well, it might be a little laggy when you switch between them.
Yeah.
I imagine it like our whiteboards upstairs that can be flipped over the other side. And that's basically what
Yeah.
he's describing.
That sounds more viable.
Okay.
Awesome. We'll investigate that after the stream then.
Yeah.
And I'll move on. Next question from Turs asks, any update on getting a spice rack in our player-owned house for storing coloured spices? It was mentioned on stream a few weeks ago.
We haven't really been putting together a poll of such things in the last few weeks, partly because we are still delivering things from the last one, like that Nexus. By the way, it's been a while since we last addressed that one in this stream, so for anyone who joined us more recently, afraid we ran into some tech difficulties implementing the menus for the Nexus. Menu work never is quick and easy, as you may notice from what we just said about the bank. That one's, I'm afraid, still a couple of weeks away.
Yeah.
The other one is the collection log, and I believe we're now in a position to be able to launch it soon.
Hopefully that change they described will go into the engine in tomorrow's game update. Does that sound right to you?
I don't know off the top of my head.
That sounds right.
But I believe Mod Lenny will be jumping back onto the collection log when he's back from his holiday.
Just to update players on that one, we pretty much got to the end of development of the collection log and we ran into an issue that required engine work, and we have now got the engine work done, so we can finish off the rest of the development work.
Yes. Now, as I understand it, when he ran into that, he would have been unable to, even boot a game world until he got this engine thing done, which means that he presumably couldn't have developed the rest of the log in that stream. So I'm guessing he's still got a fair bit of programming to do once he's got this fix in place for him.
I think he'd removed the aspect that was stopping him from working.
Yeah, I'm assuming he'll need to kind of have it back, otherwise, yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Let's move on to the next question from Mark6. He asks, can the Broodoo victims that spawn during Typo 1 a cleanup minigame be changed to only attack the player who spawned them? Currently, any geezer passing by to do an activity such as farming a Calquat can draw their attention and aggression and have their stats drained.
Are you saying if they're not an Aiza geezer, they don't attack?
They're not an Aiza geezer.
Just the normal one.
I don't like that, because I sort of like them just being able to be attacked by anyone, because it's a good way of training Herblore by just running around them all and just anti-poisoning them. We could just lower their range so they're less...
That's not a good way of training Herblore.
Does that mean Herblore?
Oh no, when you're doing if you have a very low Herblore and you're doing the event to try and the mini game to get a red topaz machete, it's a bit of passive Herblore XP.
They are a bit much, because they are very annoying when you're running through theirs on a lower level.
We could just reduce the range though, right? So they can't attack people too far away.
That also might mean that if you wanted to shoot one to death and you didn't mind taking a while, you could stand outside of its range but within yours. Since I think their range is not bigger than what you can do. Certainly if we made their range smaller than what you can do, then they'd have that problem. And 10 is a very long way.
It's true. I don't know, I kind of like it. Is this relevant to something to do with it, Moraiza? I felt like
No, it's
the
just
question.
somebody said the word geezer.
Oh, is that okay?
Yeah.
That was that.
Is that how you also pronounce the things where a jet of water goes up in the air?
That's a geyser.
Right, yeah.
Any geezers in the chat?
Look, someone did actually send me a picture with the geyser and then put iuser in front of it to say the iuser.
Well, that's just stupid because it's not the same. It's got a completely different word.
Hello to all the geezers out there.
Beta or beta? That's the real question.
Beta.
It's beta.
It's not.
Okay, well, we'll have this argument afterwards. Next question from Custard. Any plans to make right-clicking on mobile a little easier? Perhaps the mobile function key can be given a tap to always right-click, similar to the one found in the options interface. It's quite hidden away there.
I mean, right clicking is always going to be a pain on mobile, isn't it?
It's always going to be harder.
It had been suggested that if double tap were interpreted as right click rather than, well, being treated as having tapped twice, some mobile players had suggested they'd like that.
I'm not against the idea, if it's possible, just having the function mode as an alternative as well. That would, so you can just set to whenever you want to know, if you're going to know, if I can speak, that would be great. Whenever you know that you're going to be using right click often, you can just press it and then it's always right click, turn it off, rather than, as you say, navigating through the menu to enable it, then disable it again.
Sort of player they're suggesting that they want two-finger tap. I don't really use mobile devices enough myself to comment on how that would go, given that it's rather hard to fit one finger in some of these places.
Yeah, that's the only thing. I don't know where you would go.
Not those places.
Where would the actual right click be if you used your two fingers?
Can you...
Well, I assume it's solvable if maybe one place was designated as the place where you put your other finger.
Mod Rai, before we start talking about fingers on stream, can you find the question that's been asked about Kona? Because it keeps being spammed, and I guess I'll answer that one from the chat as well. At Old School RS, if you have any questions for the chat, by the way. As much as I'd love to continue a conversation about fingering, I'd like to continue to the next question from Thanks, which is, can the colours of the chat be customisable?
Had some thoughts about how to make a nice menu for that. I'd like to do it, although been a little busy on other stuff lately. But I would like to.
That's exciting.
For what it's worth, given that chat can appear on either a beige, opaque background or a or a mostly transparent one with any colour behind it, if you did choose a particular colour, you might find yourself a bit limited for what's actually good.
Mm-hmm. Is it doable?
Yeah, I did it in RS 3 years ago, about 2010, 9, thereabouts. Made it. Well, the simplest, the version I first made was that you could change split private chat from being cyan to being about 15 other colours I put on the menu. Mm-hmm. And players asked for some other ones, but even those 15, it was quite hard to find good ones. And
Orange was the one I used.
I used yellow, although that was mostly because I was hanging around a lot of snowy areas at the time.
Well, but that'd be awful, surely. Yellow on white background.
What? There's nothing wrong with yellow in the snow.
Don't eat yellow snow, kids.
I don't eat snow kids at all.
That was such a dad joke.
I love that joke. Brilliant.
From the chat, at Old School RS, could you consider adding a Slayer requirement level to Kona, since you don't know if it's a he yet, we've not said, requires 75 combat, and the Xanaris one requires 70. I feel like the Xanaris Master will become very unused after the release of Kona, since our tasks won't be able to roll on the new loot table. This would also make it so the new loot table could be a little more rare.
So, firstly, we've just pulled it, basically, which means we wouldn't be able to reasonably change the requirements at this point without another pull. But the reason we went without a Slayer requirement was because this Slayer Master offers something different. I don't see the Xanaris one becoming useless because that allows you to slay anywhere. Mm-hmm. But that's a big advantage when you're going for experience, because it allows you to go and use a place that you can cannon, or maybe you can go and use your ice spells. Whatever you want, you can go wherever. With Kona, you're going to have to do it in a specific place per task, unless you're going to skip. So it's offering a different niche. So sure, there's some overlap, but I think it offers something quite different and means there's a choice you'll have to make. It doesn't leave Sheldar being useless, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Fair response. Did we ever come to a conclusion of whether or not we want Kona to be male or female?
Kona's female.
Kona is female, there you go.
The placeholder you put down don't look like one of those.
Kona just looks like Duradar right now.
There we go, so...
All the way down to...
Get ready, Zuhar. Get ready. We're waiting for it.
Well, we don't know what these guys are going to look like yet, do we?
We don't.
Guys and gals.
Guys and gals, sorry.
I'm sure he'll find a way. He always does.
It's true.
The Khalith, right? Is Kona's
The Khalith.
And that's not yet been revealed in-game, so...
I think we previewed an early idea a long time ago, but I don't know if we're looking
I
at
think it was like
that anymore.
a centaur sort
kind
of thing.
That was for the Tesla car, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, yes.
Maybe. Yeah. Either way, I don't think Ghost tends to reuse that design.
It was a pretty striking looking thing, but it was part of some very, very specific lore that I think is not related to what we've got here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Next question from PersoCon asks, any possibility of awarding design stream in the future, not just for graphics, but also actual gameplay?
Yeah, that sounds reasonable. I would like to also maybe do maybe like a test server where they can actually try and play the skill themselves, like in the future.
Beta.
Yeah, like a beta.
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 Better.
Cool.
Although I think
Okay.
with a design stream though, that would be, if it's just talking about it, just running through it. Yeah, I mean, it might be a struggle to make it interesting, but we can see.
The trouble with watching people programming is it looks like a guy typing.
Yeah.
And although it's different when Maz does it, because it doesn't look like a guy typing then.
Yeah, it
But,
looks like a girl typing.
And there's only so much you can watch there. We've also got the difficulty that a lot of our systems, like the compilers, they're all written with people's actual names on. And while a lot of us, our names are well out there, there's a lot of people in the company whose names will be coming up on the compiler logs that would not want their full name disclosed to for the interest of the old school community. And also, I gather there's network addresses that we'd rather not publish. So we'd be a little limited for what we can show in a few places. And also, you can type for like an hour and a half before you end up with something that's going to do anything in the game. Mm-hmm. Especially as if you do end up, write a small thing, submit it, pack it, reboot, have a go with it. That trial and error loop goes on, so you're talking about 4 or 5 minutes per loop, and very little to show for it. So you'd get a remarkable amount of guy typing for quite a while, followed by watching the compiler run and watching it reload and reload until it's finished. It's a lot more interesting to watch somebody doing something visual like the art streams, because at least you can look at the pretty scenery as you go, and it's obvious what it's going to be like in a way that a piece of code isn't necessarily.
Cool.
And that does remind me that we are going to do some art streams in the future.
For Kebos as well?
Yeah, for Kebos.
There you go. Look forward to that. I know I really enjoy watching those streams. The next question, Mod Rai, please do check for people's names when you put them on the sheet, because question 17 is not an appropriate name that you can probably see on the monitor that you're looking at right now. Would it be possible to allow the gem bag to hold more types of gems? Currently the bag only holds normal gems up to Dragonstone and does not hold red topaz, opal, jade or onyx. I understand there would be little use for it to hold onyx, but the ability to hold the other three makes more sense.
That would make collecting the gems a lot easier.
Oh my.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not that bad.
Oh yeah, but I'm not going to say it. I've said worse on stream, but I said the F word on the stream at the official Rune Festival. It didn't mean I should have said it.
It's true. Anyway, about the
gem bag, yes, holding
the
topaz and stuffs.
I kind of like it, but it does make collecting them a lot easier.
They're worth quite a bit of money now, red topazes, aren't they?
I guess.
Good.
Yeah, I guess with silver jewelry,
That was the point of silver.
Yeah,
That
to get them out of the game. Yeah.
Yes.
Anyone else?
No. Should it be an upgrade that you spend more
More
things
nuggets.
on? Like more? Is it gold?
Get golden nuggets.
Nuggets? They taste yeehaw. Those ones.
Yeah. Yeehaw, yeah, those ones.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's not really a jump at this one on the count.
I'm impartial.
Everybody's quite impartial about this.
I'm just trying to remember how the SAC currently holds its data. Like, if we went and stored it on the SAC, then we might actually have run out of space already. If it's stored per player, then we can go further with it.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Let's just straw poll that one, Mod Rai, because the chat seems quite. The sofa seems quite impartial. So let's see what the community think.
They think I've said the word SAC, and they've got very excited.
Should the gem sack be upgradable with golden nuggets to store, what are they called, lesser gems or
Semi-precious gems, I think they're
semi-precious
called.
gems? That's the term. And I'll ask one final question. It's coming up to 6 o'clock. Shamu asks, can the player-owned house treasure chest for Clue Scroll Awards be reworked to not require full sets to store? As an Iron Man with a hoarding problem, this would save me so much bank space. Ah, there you go. You're right.
So, yeah, obviously this would be a great improvement to the POH, but it's a hell of a job to actually pull that off and then ensure that all the data moves correctly over to such a new system. So
I'm reminded that the last time we tried a stunt like that, we goofed it up and people got the wrong items. Fortunately, the items were of comparable value to each other. This would not be the case if we try and do it for everything else that's stored in there. We should be able to, though, let you store the skirt along with the leg set. You know how you store it as a set with legs or a set with skirt. I have no idea why that is the way it is, but it would be possible to store it with both.
yeah, there's a whole system that checks if you've got a skirt equivalent item, which is a bit annoying actually.
And then there's whatever the heck the deal is with elegant stuff, which I find hard to understand at the best of times.
Yeah.
And I've got a real suspicion that elegant stuff arose because the artists made, you know, the male model version, the female model version, and then there was some confusion about what they were meant to do with them. They ended up being implemented as separate items.
I kind of like that.
Do you?
Like, the same with like the plate skirt and plate legs. We stopped doing it in like 2006 or 7-ish anyway. Like, but obviously you get plate legs and plate skirt. But in a modern, like nowadays, we would make, Kona's breastplate, and it would just be one item that if you put it on a man, it would be probably chunkier, and if you put it on a woman, it'd have a crop crew neck something, because I don't know why.
Like standard metal plate.
Yeah, it has two separate models on the same item, whereas elegant, but even old armor like Runite, you have a Runite skirt and you have a Runite plate legs. You have separate items for that instead of it being two models on one item.
Except in the circumstance of the farming outfit.
Except with that, yeah, that's one of the newer versions that is different.
Yes, I think that
That's
was a
fun.
miscommunication as well.
Yeah, so I don't know.
I don't remember when Thrander was around.
Sounds familiar.
Thrander, he turned your skirts into trousers and vice versa.
Oh yes. That was really old though.
Back when RS Classic, well, that was RS Classic, but
Yeah.
when RS2 came out and you didn't have to get your armour remodelled to suit your body anymore, there was a petition on the forums to bring back Thrander, and somebody in the support team who didn't understand who Thrander was and didn't know about that wrote back saying that this is not that they weren't taking ban appeals for the player's friend Thrander, and they should direct Thrander to send her a ban appeal properly. Didn't go down too well, that.
Right, well, it's past 6 o'clock, and I know that Mod West needs to catch his bus. So I'm going to go ahead and thank you all very much for watching this week. Just quick reminder, ! All Stars, if you have any, if you want to get the Twitch event links for the event itself, as well as the heat drawing, which will be happening on the 2nd of November. The event itself is on the 24th of November. Did I say September? 2nd of November, 24th of November, heat, and then the actual event. Keep that in mind. We're going to go ahead and go to the GoPro view so that we can say goodbye and see you guys later. Take care.
And now I'm Mod Bus.
Oh, I'm still waving.